Hey there, I'm glad you're here. My name is Chris, and this is the Sons of Sever YouTube channel where there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad gear. Today we are talking about this really cool trail shoe from Lems. It is called the Primal Persuit. Now the cool thing about the Primal Persuit is it comes in two different versions. This is the one that we will focus on today, but they also have a mid-ankle version that is waterproof. You could argue that this guy is a little bit more rugged. You might use it for some rougher terrain, but there will be a review of this guy in the future. So if you're interested in that, then go ahead and subscribe and turn on notifications so that you will see when that comes around. For today, this guy is our focus, and it is a really cool option if you're looking for a very lightweight, very minimal, but still rugged trail shoe. When we get into the ratings for the shoe, we will start talking about use cases and we'll get a little bit deeper into our opinions. But for now, I'm going to start with Lems' website and just going over the specs and the options for the shoe. And I'm going to give some of my opinions as we go. So the first thing to note is that we have 3 different colorways for this guy: an all black that they call Nocturnal Ninja, a kind of lighter brown and black suede version that they call the Canyon, and then this one that we have here is the Orion Blue, and Eric and I both opted for this one. When it comes to toe box, this guy sits in the middle of the categories that Lems gives us. So first you have a medium, then a wide, and then a widest. So this guy fits into that wide category, and we feel like for the most part it has plenty of space. I personally would love to see the toe box be in the widest category, but the width of this shoe does not bother me. The upper is constructed with synthetic PU and air mesh, which makes it very light and breathable. The lining is 100% moisture wicking polyester, which is very important because the shoe is not waterproof. The outsole has what they call their new trail traction, as these 3.5mm lugs that kind of look like teeth. They kind of curve backwards, which is really nice, and they provide fantastic traction if you are out on looser ground. We always like to mention the insole. Although I took mine out, I think Eric did as well, so we're not using the insoles, but it comes with a 4.5mm insole. The total stack height is 14mm plus that 4.5mm insole, so you can end up with 18.5mm total if you want, but I like the 14mm, and that's divided between a 5mm rubber outsole and a 9mm EVA midsole. It is zero drop, which we absolutely love, and it is 10.5 ounces. All of those features make this thing a very rugged, very grippy, very comfortable, and lightweight option for the trail. I do think it's lacking some things. That's my personal opinion. We'll talk about that more when we get into the rating system, but we are actually going to throw things over to Eric, and he is going to give some of his initial opinions on the shoe.
So we really like what Lems has done with the Primal Persuit. If you saw our review on the Lems Primal Zen, then you'll remember that we talked about that shoe being our all-around everyday sneaker that you can take on light adventures. With the Primal Persuit, we feel like it can be your all-around everyday sneaker that you can take on rugged adventures. So take this thing on a long hike, take it on a long trail run, take it backpacking. I'm even considering bringing it down to my trail half marathon that I have going on in November. The Lems website talks about it being a hybrid between the Primal 2s and the Trailheads as a owner of the trailhead, this was a very familiar feeling for me, slipping my foot into this shoe. But there were a few things about the trailheads that I think most people didn't like. The fact that it has 4 millimeters of drop and that the toe box is somewhat more narrow. So I think what they did was they took the trailhead and they just fixed that. They gave it a wider toe box, they made it zero drop, and you get the Primal Persuit. Now, we're going to talk more about our thoughts and our feelings with this shoe with our rating system. We're going to talk about 3 different categories: the function, the feel, and the versatility of the shoe. We're going to give it a score in each of those categories 1 through 10. At the end, we will average it out and let you know what our final product score is. So before moving on to the rating system, I just wanted to mention some of the affiliates that we have going on with the channel right now. The first one is Lems Shoes. They're a brand that we really love. They have a wide variety of shoes that you can choose from. If you're looking for hiking boots, if you're looking for casual shoes, if you're looking for dress shoes, then they've got you covered. Go ahead and check them out. If you're looking for the most minimalist shoe that you can find that still looks like a conventional shoe, then we would highly suggest Xero Shoes. They've got a lot of different offerings on their website too. If you're looking to go as barefoot as possible and have as little between your feet and the ground as you can, but still have them protected, then we would suggest Vibram. So we've been working with them. We've gotten a lot of their different 5-finger models, and it's just been a ton of fun. We've really liked running and hiking in them. Chris uses one of his pairs at work every single day. So they've just been a ton of fun. Go ahead and look them up as well. All right, so I will now send it over to Chris to talk about the function of the Lems Primal Persuit.
So when it comes to the function of the shoe, first we got to nail down what was this shoe made for. If you look through the Lems website and you look through some of the pictures of people wearing it and the different use cases that they took pictures of it in, you can kind of tell that it was definitely geared more towards just hiking for the most part. It's meant to be a lightweight and comfortable trail shoe. It's also built to be relatively rugged. It's going to deal really well on gravel and rocks, and it might do okay in some slightly wet terrain. Definitely don't want to take this thing through mud or out in pouring rain. It's not going to do great there. While it is moisture wicking and would probably dry quickly, your feet and your socks are going to get soaked. So I think that it functions perfectly as a fair weather, lightweight hiking shoe. And even though there's no indication on the website that this was in Lem's purview of this shoe, I think it works really well as a trail runner, and I personally have enjoyed it very much out on dirt roads and on gravel trails as well. Because of all of these things, I'm going to give this guy a 9 out of 10 when it comes to function. Now we're going to pass things over to Eric, and he is going to talk about the feel of the shoe.
So when it comes to the feel of this shoe, I really like it. I mentioned before it was kind of like putting on a trailhead, but my feet were even happier. And that's just because it has more minimalist characteristics to it. It's got a wide toe box, it's got zero drop. They are very flexible as well. The only thing that it compromises on as far as minimalist footwear goes is it has a little bit more stack height to it. And that's going to result in less ground feel. So if ground feel is really important to you, you might not like these quite as much, but I think it's a worthy compromise. I think it's great that you can take them on more rugged adventures because you've got that extra protection under your foot. One thing that I do really like about it is the mesh that goes around the entire shoe. So it starts here, comes around the toe, and then works its way around back this way. I'm currently in Florida. It's crazy hot and crazy humid out there. I've been walking around. My shirts have all been soaked, but my feet have stayed dry. So they do a really good job keeping your feet dry. There's a few things that I did not like about the shoe right when I got it, and it seemed to have a little bit less volume than other Lems shoes. So my toes seem to be touching the top quite a bit, and then the insole also has some extra padding at the heel that I thought was uncomfortable. So I took the insole out, and that seemed to solve both of those problems. And I just haven't gone back ever since taking that out. The sizing also seems to be a little bit off. So I noticed online there were a lot of comments talking about it being too small, and I'd have to say I experienced that too. In the Lems Primal Zen, an fits me just fine, but with the Primal Persuit, my toes scrape the front of the shoe just barely when I'm walking around. So I would definitely think about, a half size to maybe a full size up. If I am going to take these running with me on my trail half marathon in November, I'm going to have to size up because I'm going to need that extra room for them. So there were a few things a little bit off about it, and because of that, we decided that for the feel, we're going to give it a 7 out of 10. And now I'll send things back over to Chris to talk about the versatility.
Versatility is going to be an interesting conversation with this guy because it has a lot of things in common with the Primal Zen. It's just way more rugged. So I think that the biggest difference I can give you between this shoe and the Primal Zen and why it would get a worse score on versatility is it has like zero casual formal appeal. Where the Zen isn't as rugged, this guy is a little too rugged. I'm not going to wear this casually, especially with those big meaty grippy lugs on the bottom. Like, it's nice to have grippy shoes at all times, but this thing was really meant to dig into dirt and gravel. This shoe for me is going to spend most of its life dusty and dirty. With the Zen, I feel like I could wake up in the morning and go on a decently long run in it. I feel like I could also take it to the gym and lift in it. Later that day, I could also wear it to work. I think it would work just fine in an office setting, depending on what color you got it in. And then later that evening, I wouldn't mind wearing it out on the town. For me, this shoe's not going any of those places. I'm not going to take it out on a road run. I'm not going to use it in the gym. I'm definitely not going to wear this guy to an office job setting, and my wife would murder me if I tried to wear this out on a date. But if I'm going hiking, if I'm going to be running around in the dirt, if I'm going to be jogging on a dirt road or running on a gravel trail, that's where you're going to find me wearing this guy. And I think it does a great job in those settings. It kind of goes back to the function of the shoe, and it really only fits in the niche of that function for me. Because of all of that, I am going to give this guy a 7 out of 10 on the versatility because I do think it reaches outside of its function as far as being a runner goes, going from just a hiking shoe, a nice light grippy hiking shoe, to a well-functioning trail runner. It's got to get good extra points for that, and I do think it looks good for the most part, but I think it is really held in that function. So I feel like that 7 out of 10 is justified. Now I'm going to send things back over to Eric, and he is going to give you our wrap up of the Primal Persuit.
Alright, so our final score for the Lems Primal Persuit is going to come out to a 7.5 out of 10. And this was actually a really interesting one for me and Chris. Most of the time we agree almost 100% on the scores for all the products that we've had, but this one we kind of differed a little bit. I felt like 7.5 was a little bit too low, and Chris thought that it might be even a little bit too high. I think ideally in my mind, I'm going on these difficult hikes, I'm backpacking, I'm doing trail half marathons all the time. That's just not reality. So that knocks the versatility of the shoe for us down a little bit. And for Chris, it was just more of a practicality thing. Like, every day, what are you going to choose to wear? And for him, it was the Primal Zen, because it's just a comfortable, minimalist, all-around shoe that's got a bit more curb appeal to it. Whereas the Primal Persuit is a little more athletic looking. It just doesn't look as good in a casual setting. And we're in that casual setting more often, so we're going to get more use out of it that way. So if you've come here, trying to make a decision between the Primal Persuit and something else, hopefully all this information will help you to do that. If you're somebody who's super active out in the mountains and on the trails all the time, I think the Primal Persuits would serve you very well. If you're like me and that's just an ideal and it doesn't happen to be reality, unfortunately, then the Primal Zen might be a better option for you. But we do really like both of those shoes, and there's pros and cons to each of them. And this video obviously was a review on the Persuit, and we really like that shoe. Enough to give it a 7.5 out of 10. So if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. There's a lot of different places that you can find content from us on the internet. This YouTube channel has an associated Instagram. Go ahead and follow us there for more up-to-date posts on the stuff that we're working with. Chris has his own YouTube channel called SeverShoots, and that has to do more with the gun industry and preparedness and fitness. And then we also have a Strava account. That's been a really fun app that we've enjoyed using. It tracks all of our runs and hikes and just activities that we do, and then you're supposed to build up a community with those things, you know, sharing what you've done, liking what other people have done, and just having a good time that way. So follow us on Strava, and we will see you in the mountains.